Good morning, everyone. My name is Lauren Carson, and I'm going to be your host this morning. Currently, all of the participants are being led into the room, to the meeting from the waiting room. So we're just going to wait a few minutes until some more folks join. We have about 125 people registered for this event this morning, which is terrific. We're really excited about that. And currently there are about 50 people that are on. So I'm just going to wait a few minutes till we get up a little higher. I'm just going to wait one more minute. We're at about 55 participants right now. Well, once again, good morning. My name is Lauren Carson, and I work for the Eastern Rhode Island Conservation District, and I'm one of the members of the Green Infrastructures Leadership Committee. And I want to welcome everyone this morning to our second annual Stormwater Innovation Trade Show and Expo. We did have our first annual trade show last October at the casino in Roger Williams Park, and we were so happy that it was such an overwhelming success. And we really wanted to have another one this year, despite COVID. So the leadership team, my colleagues and partners on these projects, I want to thank them for putting all the work in to really put this project together. We have an interesting agenda this morning. This program will take about an hour, and then we have a half an hour of breakout discussions with some of our panelists. We have, as I said, about 125 people registered on this call, on this meeting, and currently there's about 65 of them here. So because we're here, I thought that we should probably get started. I'm starting with some good news. And the good news is that you don't have to wear any masks, so we can all just see each other and enjoy looking at each other's faces. I have a little housekeeping that I wanted to go over first. Well, the first thing I really want to do is to talk about our ad book. You may have noticed in the email that you got yesterday with the links that we're really pleased that some of our partners in the public and the private sector have chosen to support our work. And you can click onto that. It's on our website, Rhode Island greeninfrastructure.com, or you can see it in the email that you got yesterday. We never did a digital ad book before, so we did our very best to make sure that we got all the logos right and all the pictures right. So I hope all our sponsors are happy. I want to name them so that they do get the recognition they deserve. ACF Environmental, Beta, Dimeo, Fuss & O'Neill, the Horsley Witten Group, Pavers by Ideal, Orange Flood Control, Par Corp, and the SNEP program, as well as Stormtree and Unilock. So please look for their ads in the ad book and support their work. And thank you to them for supporting our efforts. So a little housekeeping, you're all muted right now. We do have a back end taking care of everything. There will be information will be put into the chat box, and we will direct you to that when we think there's something you need to see. This program will take a little less than an hour right now, and then we will give you further directions to leave this meeting and to enter into a second meeting where we're going to have 2 breakout sessions with our panelists so that we can have a conversation. We really wanted to do our best to have a trade show feel and a conversational feel, because that's what we know people look for when they go to an event like this. So quickly, our agenda, we have 2 keynote speakers. We have 3 videos that represent the work of the Rhode Island Green Infrastructure Coalition. We have 2 presentations that will be made by 2 special speakers, and we will end at about 11 and go to the breakout rooms. So the very first thing that I want to do is I want to introduce our state treasurer, Seth Magaziner, who is one of the keynote speakers. Seth is here, I believe. I'm hoping everyone knows Seth. He's been our state treasurer for the past 6 years. He has been a huge supporter of the environmental community. He has provided leadership on a variety of innovative projects out of the treasurer's office, including the infrastructure bank and the recent school bonds that just passed in several communities around the state. And it's my pleasure to introduce my friend, Seth Magaziner.
Well, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I want to start by thanking and recognizing Representative Carson for her leadership. She has made green infrastructure a priority of hers at the State House as a state representative for the city of Newport, and then also, of course, in her professional life with the Green Infrastructure Coalition. It's an honor to work alongside you, Lauren, and to call you a partner. I also want to recognize another partner in government who I know will be speaking shortly, the great Janet Coit from the Department of Environmental Management, who has made Rhode Island a real national leader in the quality of our natural environment. And there's so many organizations who are involved in this coalition. I can't name them all because that would use up my whole 5 minutes. But in particular, I want to thank John Berard from Clean Water Action, Meg Kerr from the Audubon Society, Sheila Dormady from the Nature Conservancy, Sarah Churgan from the Eastern Rhode Island Conservation District, Topher Hamlet and the crew from Save the Bay, and all of the other partners who have helped make Rhode Island a real national leader in this space. Rhode Island is on the front lines of climate change, and we must ensure that our state's infrastructure is climate resilient, so that our economy, our health, and our quality of life are protected. Rhode Island's sea levels have risen nearly 6 inches just in the last 30 years. Now think about that. We are a low-lying coastal state. The average sea level in Rhode Island has risen 6 inches just in the last 3 decades. In addition, extreme weather events are becoming more common globally, but particularly in the Eastern Seaboard, which has put our state at even greater risk. It has been just over a decade since we were given a preview of what to expect during the 2010 floods. And I think those floods were a cautionary tale for what can happen if we do not improve our climate resiliency, including our stormwater infrastructure as a state. I think we all remember those days vividly. The Warwick Mall was under 2 feet of water. I-95 was shut down and the airport connector for days. The railroad tracks flooded and Amtrak had to suspend service. Wastewater treatment plants from Warwick to Westerly flooded and failed, discharging sewage into our waterways. And property damage in Rhode Island was conservatively estimated to be more than $200 million. And that was just a preview of coming attractions for what will occur with increasing frequency and increasing damage if we do not get serious about adapting and making our state more climate resilient. With rising sea levels and increasingly heavy rainfall, We must be prepared to meet these challenges head on in the future. But the good news is that there are solutions. And if we prioritize green infrastructure, particularly for climate resiliency, but also in other areas, we can protect our citizens from the impacts of climate change and build an environment that is sustainable and healthy and will last for generations to come. As Representative Carson mentioned, in 2015, our office worked with the governor and the General Assembly to expand Rhode Island's Clean Water Finance Agency into a full-fledged infrastructure bank. We're still one of only a handful of states around the country that has a real public green bank in Rhode Island. Funding from the infrastructure bank has helped cities and towns begin to strengthen their infrastructure to protect against climate risks and to reduce dangerous runoff. These improvements have included and will continue to improve improvements to our water and wastewater systems, our roads and bridges, investments in energy efficiency and renewable energy and brownfield remediation, and building out more green space. For example, the Infrastructure Bank recently financed a $20 million upgrade of the wastewater treatment plant in Warren, Rhode Island. Warren, of course, is one of the communities that is most at risk from rising sea levels, making the plant in Warren the first in Rhode Island to incorporate flood protection measures identified in the DEM 2017 Climate Change Vulnerability Assessment. And the great thing about projects like these is not only do they help our state prepare for climate change and become more energy efficient and improve the quality of our natural environment, they also put people to work and they help us save money in the long run because it is much more expensive to repair infrastructure that has been flooded or broken than it is to make these preventative measures up front. So it's a win-win all around, good for the environment, good for jobs, and a money saver over time. But this work is just beginning. Rhode Island will need to continue to take bold action to truly make our infrastructure more climate resilient. We need to build out our green space. We need to raise roads, build seawalls in some cases, restore dunes and marshes, harden critical utilities like electrical substations and water treatment plants. That's why I am proud to support, and I ask all of you to join me in supporting the proposed $69 million green and clean water bond currently before the General Assembly. The funding from the $69 million proposed bond will be used to strengthen municipal climate resiliency, make wastewater treatment upgrades and stormwater quality improvements, ensure that our drinking waters are clean and safe, and upgrade and protect our parks, beaches, and campgrounds. This bond is expected to be considered by the General Assembly when they reconvene and will hopefully go to the voters in a special election early next year. The bond is an important step, but in the coming years, we must go bigger. Big problems require bold solutions, and our future as a state depends on meeting these challenges head on. I want to thank all of you for being a part of this vital work. Upgrading our infrastructure to defend our state from climate change and improve our water quality is a generational challenge that will require ambition and urgency. With the proper focus, we can meet this challenge, create good construction jobs, and improve our economy, our health, and our quality of life. I want to thank all of you for your tremendous work and your partnership. Let's keep it going. We do not have time on our side in this fight, but we do have some of the best, most committed, hardworking, smart people that we could ask for. And I'm confident that working together, we can get the job done. So thank you all very much.
Thank you very much, Treasurer. Thank you for your remarks. Our second keynote speaker this morning is the Department of Environmental Management Director, Janet Coit. Janet could not be with us today, but we have a video that she has sent to us. I'm sure most folks do know who Janet is. We should all be very proud to say that she's the longest serving director at the Department of Environmental Management. She previously was the director of the Nature Conservancy in Rhode Island. And as we all know, she worked for Senator John Chafee, both on his staff, as well as on the Committee of Environment and Public Works in the US Senate. So we do have some remarks from Janet, and let's welcome her remarks.
And of course, every single thing about 2020 is different, and this year we're meeting virtually. Still, it's going to be an exciting day, and DEM is so pleased to be part of this effort. Stormwater is the most difficult water quality issue that we work on together, given that it's so diffuse and we need so much work in the watersheds. And I want to commend all of you and groups like the Woonasquatucket River Watershed Council who've done such amazing work in the Woonasquatucket watershed, as well as the Eastern Conservation District, doing work with all sorts of communities in the East Bay, and of course, the Providence Innovation Center at Roger Williams Park. The one nut we still have to crack is the sustainable source of funding for this work. It's something a lot of us have worked on over the years. We're thrilled to see bond money. We need to keep fighting for bond money. We're thrilled to see the work the Infrastructure Bank is doing, opening up more opportunities for grants and more programs to support municipal resilience. But we really need a reliable source of sustainable funding for this work if we're going to meet our water quality goals. So I commend all of you for the work you're doing across Rhode Island, the pilot projects, and the best practices that you're going to demonstrate today. And I want to tell you that DEM is a strong partner. We appreciate the leadership on this issue. And we feel that green infrastructure is one of the biggest wins we can accomplish in the next few years. It helps our communities be safer due to reduced flooding. It helps our communities be more beautiful because they're green with trees and wetlands. It provides jobs for people really at all levels who design and build and maintain these projects. And of course, it improves water quality. That's what we're here for. So thank you all and have a great Expo.
Thank you, Director Coit. So next we're going to see one of our 3 short videos. We've prepared 3 short videos that really highlight the work of the Rhode Island Green Infrastructure Coalition. And the first one, I'm proud to say, is regarding the work that's being done on Aquidneck Island by the Eastern Rhode Island Conservation District. So if we could tee up that video, please.
Aquidneck Island is known for its natural beauty, including its world-class beaches, ocean views, and sailing culture. However, the island's coastal and drinking waters are uniquely susceptible to the harmful effects of polluted stormwater. Impervious pavement along the waterfront in Newport prevents rainwater from naturally soaking into the ground. And agricultural production in Middletown and Portsmouth inadvertently generate fertilizer and animal waste, which are washed into Narragansett Bay and into the island's 7 freshwater reservoirs. The Rhode Island Green Infrastructure Coalition has focused its attention on reducing the pollutants that reach Aquidneck Island's watershed by strategically planning green infrastructure installments. In the spring of 2019, 8 rain gardens were installed at residences across the island. Residences were carefully selected based on the impact of the rain garden, as well as visibility for the community to learn about rain gardens.
These small sites are going to really serve as models in neighborhoods from Newport to Portsmouth about ways that residential homeowners can actually protect groundwater and the bay by capturing stormwater on their property.
In the spring of 2020, installation began on a project at Hugendorn Nurseries in Middletown. This nursery's location on a hillside causes stormwater runoff from agricultural operations to flood adjacent Berkeley Avenue. This freshly completed installment will collect and slow down polluted stormwater, allowing it to soak more naturally into the ground. A large rain garden installation at Common Fence Point Community Center in Portsmouth is doing double duty, beautifying the landscape for the community while absorbing stormwater runoff. The garden was installed by a team of volunteers who generously donated their time for the installation, including excavation, backfilling with rocks and mulch, and finally, placing and planting native plants. In addition to capturing polluted stormwater, this rain garden provides much-needed habitat for native flowers and insects. An interactive stormwater mitigation rain garden was recently installed at Melville Elementary School. This project is perfectly situated to collect polluted stormwater that would normally flow into Melville Pond in Portsmouth. In addition to the environmental benefits, this project serves as a certified outdoor learning activity zone with an outdoor classroom, which allows students to attend class outdoors socially distanced. This garden is open to the public and is fully handicap accessible, so anyone can enjoy and learn in this beautiful outdoor space. For more information on the Rhode Island Green Infrastructure Coalition, visit greeninfrastructureri.org.
I hope you enjoyed that. So now to our speakers. We have two speakers, as I mentioned this morning, that are going to make two short presentations to us on topics that we hope will be of interest to you. And the first topic is going to be the Rhode Island Department of Transportation partnerships for stormwater management. And our presenter is Elisa Richardson, who some of you may know. Elisa is the managing engineer in the RIDOT Environmental Division. Prior to joining RIDOT, she was an engineer for 25 years at the RIDEM Office of Water Resources. At the DEM, she supervised the Water Resources Engineering Review Team. She was a collaborator and contributor to the 2010 Rhode Island Stormwater Manual, and she is a co-author of the RIDOT Stormwater Linear Manual. In her current position, she manages the stormwater partnership projects that she's going to speak about and the state and federal coordination for all RIDOT projects. Elisa?
Thank you, Lauren, for that. And good morning, everyone. It's really exciting to be here with you today. So title of my presentation is Let's Make a Deal. It's been great to work with these partnerships, and let's see how we got there today. So how this all started with partnerships, I came over to DOT and we had worked on stormwater control plans because of the consent decree handed out to RIDOT, and we had to, we have a flat budget, but design takes time, and so we wanted to get some projects out really quickly because the most expensive part is the construction. So as we were looking in the area, you can see this is like Route 6 and where it goes up to Dean Street, kind of heading towards downtown Providence. The red here on these highways, we had to try to identify everywhere on the highways and on our RIDOT roadways that we could possibly put some kind of stormwater. But the red means it was infeasible. There just really was utilities, there wasn't enough room. And so we said, wow, we have to get 80 acres of treatment in this watershed. It's the most dense in downtown Providence. And even some of the options that were very expensive for very little stormwater. And so we decided, well, maybe we can partner with somebody who's already doing a lot of work. And then we started all this with a partnership with the Woonasquatucket River Watershed Council. And from that, here it comes, okay. From that, you can see that the roadway is here, and locations that we're looking to partner, and the reds are are completed projects. We're just off the river, which is in blue, and just off the greenway. So we're looking for things that are close to the river, close to the greenway, expanding the greenway, and it's been really exciting. And this includes private partnerships with private property owners as well. And we've just found them to be so much more cost effective and improve the neighborhoods and improve the river so much more. And so we're really excited. The first step was getting permission from DEM not to treat directly right on our roadway. Could we go into the neighborhoods? And gladly they said yes. So who do we partner with? It's just so many to name. I hope I didn't leave anybody out, and some of these partners are indirect because they give out grants, and then we match grants, and so it's been a great opportunity to do this. So kind of a little bit, not without getting too deep, because it is kind of, these agreements are pretty long and it's pretty detailed, but just to kind of skim over the top, and I'd be happy to talk with anybody afterwards about this. But basically, we create an agreement with a partner. For example, when it was Wenasquatucket, the first one we started with. And once we have an agreement, we sort of allocate amount of money, and then we charge off of that account. And so we sort of, you have an idea, and is the property owner willing? And a big one for us is it going to get credit for RIDOT? Because it really is, there's like a cost for credits. And so we need to be able to get credit towards our consent decree. I mean, as much as we like to do this out of the goodness of our hearts, it really does come down to meeting the EPA criteria, meeting DEM's, mandates. We look for if they can match with other grants or donations, or can the property owner contribute in some way. And then we create a project charter, which sort of cuts off of that big PO, cuts a little section off, and we start the design process. And so, why are we doing it this way? I mean, as we began to discuss with Wenasquatucket, they were very open about some certain things that were challenges to them, and why other projects hadn't moved forward as rapidly as they would have liked. And for us, the issue was space. Private property, we didn't have enough on our RIDOT property, so we needed to go to private property or city property. The cost, RIDOT has certain criteria and the way projects are bid. We found that when the partnerships bid these projects, they're far more cost efficient than RIDOT doing it directly. Our clients are big highway, are experienced in highways and not stormwater experience. We hire design consultants. It's been great. All the design consultants that have been working with us on these partnerships have been fantastic. And so we bring in the design consultants, and a lot of times you can't get a grant until you have a design. So that's why, it's great. We can come in and seeing enough stormwater, you're like, yeah, this is a good idea. This is going to move forward. We can bring it right up to the 30% design in order to facilitate getting more of those grants. And then when Wenasquatucket said, well, this project's going to be like $150,000. I don't have that in the bank. What am I going to do? And we said, oh my gosh, we need a bank. So that's when we called up the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank. We said, hey, if we have this agreement, will you loan them money and we'll be the backers? And they said, yeah, that's a great idea. So now these partners can go after grants that are much bigger than what they might have in their bank account. And then finally, with green infrastructure, maintenance is everything, and just keeping it going. So we're looking for partners that can continue to maintain these projects through the future. So now I'm just going to throw you some really beautiful pictures about like befores and afters. This is one of my favorite projects because it involves kids, it involves green, it involves just so much. But there was just this vacant lot, and then Thrive, Rhode Island, and the Eastern Conservation District had already had this in the beginning, moving forward, and it's on one of our ponds that needs water quality improvement. And what a beautiful, beautiful job they did here. And then this was our very first completed project. This is fairly close to the same view. So these dumpsters were leaking into the Wenasquatucket. This is my favorite tree over a guardrail next to some, what was it? Tagging, I guess. And now it's much bigger than this, but it's just to show you we're really close to the river, which is along here. And now there's a walkway to the Greenway, and combined with San Souci and the City of Providence, we worked these two projects together. It's on Citizens Bank property. They had an inefficient parking lot. We restriped the parking lot. They lost 2 spaces, and we gained like 8,000 square feet of a beautiful walkway to connect the area and really open up a small little park. My favorite thing on this one was like little Joni Mitchell in reverse. We made a little paradise and pulled up a parking lot. So here's the Manton Avenue street trees and planters. Wenasquatucket with Stantec, and oh, by the way, the previous one was Fuss and O'Neill. Like I said, all these engineering firms have been fantastic to work with. This one was with Stantec, and we put in some street trees, and this water is just going in a pipe and going right to the river in those catch basins, going right to the bottom of the hill, right into the river. Just enhancing the bikeway and giving people a little more direction, as well as treating stormwater. And that was combined with a grant with the City of Providence, a community grant. So we're looking for all kinds of angles, community housing grant. And then this is another exciting project, the Providence Stormwater Innovation Center. We've just recently signed an agreement with them, and we have obligation requirements to do public education and outreach. And also we have some big needs for stormwater training, construction training. A lot of these systems are new, and we're bringing in the best of the best from Brian Burns, City of Providence, all of his experience, wood engineering, Chris Shea, all of her experience, and some of the stuff that I've learned over the years, and we're really trying to get the contractors to really understand how this works. And this was a public education piece of it, murals on the sidewalks, again, just showing about what is water. And then Pleasant Valley Parkway trees. This is with the City of Providence, and this is up in the upper corner, but there is a little tiny river here that gets very overwhelmed. There's so much treatment that needs to happen. And then it goes under the hospital. It's piped underground for a long time and comes out pretty polluted and contributes to the Woonasquatucket. So really we're trying anywhere we can, and the community got really involved in this. The neighbors got really involved with this project. They did a lot of their own storm drains on their own homes. It was really exciting. And then Greystone Social Club, it's farther up in the watershed, but this group had this old parking lot, and they were willing, and right up next to the river, and they were willing to do something about it. And they were willing to work with us. They had parts of the club where drove trucks and had bulldozers. And so they took up all the pavement, like they worked alongside with us. And what we ended up with is this, come on, you can do it. Okay, and what we ended up was with a grass paver, and plantings, and just such a huge improvement alongside the river. So we're really excited about as that starts to fill in, as the grass continues to fill in. And those are pavers. You can drive on that. They can park on that. This is pretty much their overflow parking, but it is a really nice spot next to the river. Another project we had was with Farm Fresh, Rhode Island. We matched a DEM grant. And Farm Fresh was really unique. When they went into the site, they said, we want to do 100% of the stormwater. And one of the things about credit is if you were going to get a permit for something and you needed to, and the redevelopment requirements are 50% stormwater treatment if you're redeveloping, we can't get credit for that because that would have happened already anyways. So we contributed to the extra bonus of an extra 50% of stormwater credit for this project. And they had to go with an underground infiltration system underneath their parking lot. This thing is gigantic. This holds a lot of water. And just have a person here for the size of it, but imagine those rows go on and on and on and on. So, when we talk about volumes of water, and that's massive flood control as well. So not as green, but they did a lot of green on the top. It's really an exciting project, and that's now open. And thank you, Lucy. And so for final, just to kind of wrap this up, we have so many more projects in the pipeline that we're so excited about. We're talking to folks at Atlantic Mills, Cathedral Arts, a Bath Street Pocket Park with the City of Providence and Horsley Witten. North Smithfield High School, we'd like to do another outside school, outside classroom for that, which is, I think will be fantastic. And then Kickamuit Middle School, and looks like we're looking at maybe some flood control there. The Madeford River, that's going to be a really neat project. That's a lot of money combined with SNEP, and we're going to buy up farmland, I hope, and it seems it's the plan, and plant it with pollinators. That'll be fantastic. And then, as I talked about, the public education and training is going to continue for the next 5 years with hopefully with a Providence Stormwater Innovation Center, and then stormwater construction training. And that ends my presentation. Thank you very much. Let me stop share. Okay, here we go.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That was really a terrific presentation. And as I said, there'll be a breakout room as soon as we finish this session, and you can have a conversation with Alyssa about all these projects and how you can perhaps get involved as well. So now we have our second video. Our second video is the Providence Stormwater Innovation Center. And for those folks for whom the Innovation Center is new, this was a project that the Green Infrastructure Coalition created with the Providence Parks. And it's a training site, and it has innovative projects, and it's gotten a lot of traction. It's very exciting. We really think that it offers a tremendous potential for the future in terms of training folks, showing folks how to install these projects, how to maintain them. And this video should give you a sense of what that center is all about.
The Providence Stormwater Innovation Center is a place-based training center that aims to share information and knowledge with municipalities, nonprofits, private companies, and the community about green infrastructure, stormwater, and the associated water quality issues. In Roger Williams Park, there are over 40 stormwater best management practices that have been implemented to improve water quality and to be used for training and learning purposes.
Hi, my name is Brian Burns. I'm the Deputy Superintendent of Parks here in Providence, Rhode Island. We are in front of the Dalrymple Boathouse in Roger Williams Park. We're going to talk to you today about the stormwater elements that we've installed throughout the park with the Providence Stormwater Innovation, in particular the inlet and pretreatment structures we have installed and the different methods that we have used. Here at the Zoo Gate 5 site, the water enters a catch basin up on the roadway. The overflow is provided by the roadway itself, as low-flowing water will enter the catch basin, but the high flow will continue down the sloped roadway and onto the next catch basin. The water comes from that catch basin into a clean-out through an 8-inch pipe entering the forebay, which has a floor made of permeable pavers. The sediment will be trapped here in the forebay with the permeable pavers, and then additional sediment will get trapped by the gabion, which is stones in a wire basket. Most of the sediment will be trapped on the face of the gabion basket, and then the water will continue through the gabion basket into the infiltration basin. The top of the gabion basket will have grass growing on it. The top of the basin is made of a Filtrex geosock, which has organic material and has been seeded.
Thank you. Our second presentation is from Wenley Ferguson, who works at Save the Bay. Some of you may know her, and she'll talk about lessons learned from partnering with municipalities. Wenley has been Save the Bay's restoration coordinator since 1990 and has worked on a variety of habitat and water quality assessment and restoration projects throughout the Narragansett Bay and its watershed. Projects have included salt marsh and coastal buffer restoration, coastal adaptation assessments, and stormwater infiltration assessment and implementation project. She's worked with a wide variety of coastal communities and municipalities on identification, planning, design, and implementation of stormwater infiltration projects, including rain gardens, bioretention areas, and infiltration areas. Wenley?
Thank you, Lauren, and thank you all for joining us. I'm always amazed by the work that the Green Infrastructure Coalition does. I don't get to join your meetings all the time since I spend a lot of time in the field, but it's amazing how productive your collaboration has been over the last number of years. So I tried to come up with a catchy title, but I just couldn't after hearing Elisa's. And just to boil down why we're doing stormwater management with municipalities is, as Janet mentioned, to restore our coastal waters and the tributaries that flow into them. So here are just some images. One of the best things I've learned is doing site visits with partners. And if it happens to be raining, even better. So going back in time, Save the Bay's focused a lot of our efforts on coastal stormwater management. And back almost a decade ago, through CRMC, they received funding from NOAA to look at coastal adaptation projects. And this is an inventory that Save the Bay did. It's on a Google map that I can share the link. And the yellow and green dots are potential stormwater infiltration. The yellow, or in the green, are pavement removal projects in coastal areas. So both having a value for stormwater management. And then the blue dots are projects that we've actually implemented. We're now working with some additional funding from NIFWIF and taking 9 of these projects to design currently with a number of municipalities around the bay and in the salt ponds. These are the projects I'm going to speak about today. To start, Sabin Point is a project we've been working with the City of East Providence, Brown, Department of Health for a number of years. We've been monitoring the water quality with Department of Health, and they've now picked up this site, looking at the water quality for swimming at the beach there. And this is a good news story. The Upper Bay has improved to the point where under dry conditions, the water quality could support swimming. But at Sabin Point Beach, due to the stormwater discharges right at the beach, there are high bacteria levels after rain events. And you can also see there's nuisance macroalgae, sea lettuce. So a number of years ago, I pulled together my simple watershed plan for stormwater management and shared it with the city. And then we were able to successfully secure some grants from DEM's watershed bond, also a SNEP grant, and able to hire ESS, who did a much more professional job coming up with a stormwater watershed plan, looking at pollutant loading, pollutant removal efficiencies of various stormwater infiltration efforts. The first one that was installed in the watershed was actually in the park itself, using a section of the park that was not heavily used. And this is a stormwater filtration area because the groundwater table is so high. When they did the excavation, we actually found oysters from past filling of the park. The great thing about this project, the city's DPW did the install and the construction oversight. And they also repaved the shore road so that the inlet structure was efficiently working. And we have found, I think this is the site that is probably the best maintained site. And I think that is due in part to the fact that the city did the install and understands how it works. And here you can see it during a rain event. There's Jamie Houle assessing our inlet structure, and it discharges out to the bay. Another component of this project was to do watershed education, since 41% of the watershed, like many of our urban suburban watersheds, is on private land. So we went door to door handing out fact sheets about the project, as well as our Bay Friendly Livings Guide. Over at Barrington Beach, the town received funding to pave and address stormwater from Barrington Beach parking lot. And as part of that effort, Save the Bay identified areas of pavement to remove, which I was very exciting. That red area to the west was actually, that asphalt was removed, and you could see there was erosion of the parking lot. The tide line went right up to the edge of the lot. We also were able to move the entire parking lot 10 feet inland, and in its place, we brought in sand and planted a dune there. Stormwater infiltration was incorporated into the areas where we removed the asphalt. It's a challenging site to do stormwater infiltration because it's on a beach. It's really too low, but here are the sites that were installed. You can see the parking lot moved back. You can see those darker green areas or the infiltration areas. And we've been working with the town on trying to do retrofits. The water comes down the steep banks, and water doesn't like to make 90-degree turns, and it was bypassing the infiltration areas. So Cape Cod berms were installed. But a challenge, like all of these projects, as Elisa mentioned, is maintenance, weeds and vegetation clogging the inlet structures is a constant challenge. So we're working with the town on developing a maintenance strategy. Also working with Jamie Houle from the Stormwater Center in New Hampshire on addressing stormwater coming from the watershed and seeing if there are areas where we can do infiltration further inland to prevent the erosion on the beach itself. The project over at Warrentown Beach was an exciting project the town did back in 2013. Fuss and O'Neill engineered this one, and they actually reduced the width of the street and created an area for linear infiltration. And this is it after it was installed. You could see some of the vegetation that was planted in the infiltration areas, very clear and defined inlet structures that have worked pretty well up until the time where the vegetation got so dense. This is one of my least favorite plants, mugwort. When you find it in a stormwater infiltration area, it can outcompete most every vegetation that I've seen. And it literally blocked the inlet structures, as well as during storm events, the water was hopping the banks of the infiltration area because of the dense vegetation. So we use this as a site for a training. The town of Warren, Kate Michaud, and Jamie Houle and I met with the DPW staff and looked at how this site could be maintained. And in conversation with Dean from Fuss and O'Neill, decided to remove the vegetation at the base of the infiltration area while leaving the shrubs and trees at top of bank. So now it's an easier site for the town to maintain and determine when sediment needs to be removed. Over at Stillhouse Cove in Cranston, we work with the city of Cranston and the Edgewood Waterfront Protection Association or Preservation Association on doing a similar plan as we did over at Sabin Point. This was SNEP funded. And through the watershed plan, we identified an area where there wasn't a sidewalk and there was an opportunity for linear infiltration along Narragansett Boulevard. And this has a series of check dams because it's on a slope. One of the lessons learned here is that we probably would design this with not as steep slopes in the future. It did treat a significant portion of the water quality volume, but in doing so, we have very steep banks that we've actually had to reseed 2 to 3 times. We've done some, just the neighborhood group actually reseeded it again this fall, and let's hope, fingers crossed, it holds. As part of those coastal adaptation projects that I was mentioning back in the early 2012, 2014, we identified a number of sites where we call them end of road retrofits, where there's redundant pavement along the edge of the bay or a river or pond area. And we were able to remove that asphalt and install stormwater infiltration or filtration if the water table was too high. This is one of our more successful projects because we had a neighborhood association involved in the planting after the fact. And we actually were able to restore a brackish marsh area in a marsh migration corridor. This is the former road area during a moon tide, showing how high the water table or the tide level gets on the former roadway. Kickamuit Ave was a more challenging site, very steep slope, a lot of erosion, eroding the salt marsh along the Kickamuit River. And this was designed by Caputo and Wick, and we installed with those NOAA funds. A challenge here is the use of riprap as an inlet structure, which we know gets clogged with sediment and then vegetation. The town just maintained this, so we're looking at doing a little retrofit of the inlet structure. But the exciting thing is the salt marsh has actually mended itself at the base of the infiltration area. So we've reduced the volume and the velocities of stormwater that discharge. Working in conjunction with the town of North Kingstown, they were designing a bike path along a former Navy road at Cav Pasture Point on the west side of the bay. And we recommended that they move the bike path further inland than originally designed. because of the erosion rates here. And after moving the bike path inland, we noticed the stormwater coming in from the surrounding residential areas. So the town installed these infiltration areas along the edge of the bike path. This is some lessons learned as you're designing anything in the coastal zone. Take advantage of CRMC shoreline change maps. This section of shoreline has a 0.9 of a foot erosion rate. And I believe the infiltration areas the town installed in 2015, and you can see the erosion. Here's the edge of the infiltration area, how significant that erosion is from coastal storms. It's a very exposed site. This is the opposite of the Melville project, a very low tech rain garden project with Rogers High School we did back in 2012. But again, a great collaborative effort with the school, a biology teacher at Rogers High. We were interested in addressing stormwater to Lily Pond, which is a degraded coastal pond in the southern part of Newport, and Rogers High is in its watershed. So working with the Department of Public Services, they actually helped us remove redundant asphalt on the campus. And then we were planning to do some of this work by hand, but luckily, again, the Department of Public Services helped with their excavators to create these depressions, and we planted these rain gardens, which have been, they do need maintenance, but they've been in a pretty good shape over the years. And it's been a great educational opportunity for the schools. And my colleague Dave Prescott's been working with the town of Charlestown with some SNP funding, doing a similar project as Eastern Conservation District, doing some pilot rain garden projects in the town of Charlestown and at the Charlestown town beach. And that is all I have. I think all of these projects require huge, significant partnerships with all levels of government with regards to town staffs, and the projects that we've found most successful are those that involve the community as well in long-term maintenance. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Wenli. I think that the lesson learned from both of our presenters is that the partnerships are really what make these projects very successful, and they've both done terrific work. Next, we have our final video before we go to the breakouts. And this video is the Woonasquatucket River Watershed Council. We saw a lot of their work in both presentations today. And yes, that's correct. I thought I got confused. So we'll see more directly the work that they've done over the years and have a spotlight on their installations.
The site we're standing on is Riverside Park. It was once the site of an 11 mill building complex. They mostly made worsted woolens, which were very high-end woolen fabrics. After the mill boom had ended in Olneyville, this was kind of an artist complex, and it burned to the ground. And then later in the 1990s, it burned to the ground again, and it was a pile of rubble. The site was a blight, and nobody actually knew that the Woonasquatucket River ran through it or next to it. In the mid-90s, a lot of investment came to this site and transformed it into Riverside Park. And the park that you see today has 2 playgrounds. It has a Red Shed bike shop that we run bike camp out of for 100 kids every summer. It's got a fish ladder, it's got an outdoor classroom, community garden, and it is a really active place for the community all times of the year. Riverside Park also turned into the perfect spot to be a green infrastructure showcase in the neighborhood. And since this neighborhood in Olneyville happens to be one of the ones that floods a great deal, we thought it would be really important, since it's a popular park, to show people what green infrastructure looks like so that as we put more and more in the neighborhood, they can understand why it's important, how it helps prevent flooding, how it cools the air down during the summertime, how it cleans the water going into the river. There is a momentum building, especially around issues of climate resilience and climate change. That has finally made it to the forefront, especially in the Providence area. And that is a huge change. 5 years ago, it wasn't even a discussion.
Thank you very much for that video. So that at this moment, that ends this portion of the program. Now we do have a part 2 of the program for those participants that can stay for about another 30 to 35 minutes. And we've created 2 breakout rooms, and we're going to have our speakers, Lisa and Wenley, go into one. They each will have a breakout room where participants and attendees can get into a more detailed conversation with them. Now, we've all gotten pretty used to using Zoom over the past 6 to 8 months, but we're not really sure how many people are familiar with using breakout rooms. So I'm going to ask you to be patient with me so that I can explain to you how it's going to work. We have the 2 exciting breakout sessions that will allow you to hear more this morning from our speakers. In order to select, we're going to put the link, you're going to put the link to the breakout rooms in the chat box. So what you will do is you will actually open up another link to go to the breakout rooms. In order to select the session you wish to attend, you will use the breakout rooms icon that will appear in the menu at the bottom of your screen. So we're all used to seeing the icons along the bottom where it says participants, chat, share screen. When you go to the next program, the next link, another icon will appear, and that will actually say breakout rooms. It's an add-on feature that some of us are just learning about. And then what you can do is you can then hit on that, and it'll give you the 2 options to join either the breakout room with Wenley or the breakout room with Elisa. You can use that. You can also go back to the other one. If you're interested in doing that, you can hit that icon and move over to the other one. It's important to note, and we did indicate this to our email to most attendees that got our email yesterday, that if you were using an older version of Zoom, or if you have joined by phone, or if you're using a web browser instead of the newest Zoom program, the option to choose the breakout room is not available to you. So John Berard, who's in the background, thank you, John, will assign you to the room of your choice once the breakout sessions have been enabled and folks have started to find their way to them. So it's a little bit complicated, but I think folks will be able to find it. Just take that link out of the chat room, go to the next one, hit the icon on the bottom, and choose the breakout room of choice. But before I close here, I want to thank everyone for participating. I want to thank our sponsors again, who we identified in the beginning. I want to direct folks to our website, RI Green Infrastructure, and there you can find ways to sign up for our e-blasts, which are our regular newsletters. You can learn about the trainings at the Innovation Center, and really become very more connected to us. In spite of COVID, we are still doing the best we can to put nature at work here in communities around Rhode Island. Hopefully we'll have another trade show next year, so we're still working on putting that together. Last but not least, I want to thank my colleagues who worked so hard on this the past 3 months: Meg Kerr, Sheila Dormady, Topher Hamlet, Shara Churgeon, and Greg Garrett for all their work in putting this trade show together. So thank you very much. See you in the next Zoom.
Thanks, Lauren. I'll stay here for a couple minutes till everyone leaves. Hi, Wenley. Do you want to be in the other room?
Yeah, it didn't let me in. It asked for a password. When I went to the chat, I'll try it again, but I went to the link and then it asked for a password.
Okay.
So let me see if I can go to the chat. Where's the chat now? Now I don't see anything in the chat.
Okay, I'm gonna stop recording.